I know that not all of us are here, but I don't know why we have stragglers necessarily. So again, please make sure this is in your plan book. I want to verify something. When you are writing this down, you should be writing down everything I have highlighted in blue. You are not just writing down 34 to 38. You are writing down the section number and the question numbers, and that's what should be in the header for your homework. So right now, especially those of you that get here early enough, you should be putting a header in your homework right now. Like, go ahead and head a paper to be your homework for tonight. I also want to remind you guys that toolkits should be going home with you if you're doing homework at home. Your book doesn't have to if you have computer access. But your toolkit is where we do every... Hey, Liam, notice how I'm talking and talking at the same time as me is going to be rude since I was talking first. If you'd like to talk, I will stop talking so you can talk. Your toolkit should be going home because it's where we do everything beneficial from class. Patrick, we just got you. Write your assignment down. So, like I was just saying, all of this gets written in your plan book. So please don't do the whole, oh, I'll just hide behind the fact that they didn't do it. If you didn't write the whole thing down, get your plan book back out, write the whole thing down. If you still have time, get your math journal out and head a page for your homework tonight, because then it's ready for you. You will need integer tiles. Every table grouping should have integer tiles. I will probably be renegotiating teams once we make sure everybody's here. I may just leave a couple groups of 3. Those groups of 2 are too small, but we'll figure that out. All right, we ready to dive in? Are we good? Plan book filled in? Yes.
Why do we have no class on Friday?
Friday has a special schedule for the Halloween canteen. So we have an in-school canteen, so we have an abbreviated schedule. We have team time, but we will not have specific class time. And tomorrow we will be reviewing your masteries when I give them back. I'm still on the fence of whether I'm going to give you your grade or whether you're going to give you your grade. I've put feedback on all of them, but I have not put a mastery, progressing, exemplary, that sort of thing. I think I might let you guys give yourselves your grades. But we'll talk about that tomorrow. So in Chapter 2, we worked a little bit with integers. So I will zoom in even further on this. We were mainly, pretty much only, adding and multiplying with integers. So positive and negative whole numbers and 0. Did you grab a card, Allie? Grab a card and see if you end up in that group or if you end up in a different group. So in this lesson, we're going to use our pluses and minuses, our positives and negative values, to learn about subtraction of integers. So keeping the following questions in mind as we go. How can we remove negative tiles when the collection has only positives? I think right there. Yeah. So that helps me out because that group of 2 was too small. How can we think about subtraction when there are not enough to take away? You might be remembering from when we did this in Chapter 2 what we had to bring in order to take away things that we quote-unquote didn't have. And when does subtracting make the result larger? When does taking something away make things bigger, actually? So check out 324 together as your team. So examine the assortment of positive and negative tiles at the right. If you want, you can go ahead and pull those tiles out on your desk and look at them physically. But then look at questions A and B and discuss together. I'll bring you back together in just a few minutes. So it worries me that we're tucked away in the corners, so our angle's a little bit tougher, and we don't have a book open. So Allie's doing great. She just grabbed her book. I'm guessing she's going to get it open. We should really have a book open. Even though you got the board there, you still want some time. What page are we on there? 139. You don't necessarily have to everybody have a book open. Just pairs. Sure. That's shame. At the end of class, somebody remind me Schoology. That's all you gotta say. Somebody remind me at the end of class. So we have this as our tile assortment, right? Sorry, this is a little further down. I think I can display mode. Not display mode. Not. Nope. Maybe. This is what I want. No. Trying to get these bars to drop away. All right. So, what do we see here? Who can tell me what we observe when you start checking this out? Yeah, Al. Did you get your journal back, by the way? It's been sitting back. Okay. The sparkly poop one? Four positives and 6 negatives. All right, good observation. So when it asks, what does this represent? What is it getting at there? What did you do to fit? What does it represent? What does it mean by what does this represent? What does it want us to do? There's a math word that we often use, starts with S. Mm-hmm. Thank you for the tag team there. So if we want to simplify this, what can I do when I have an assortment of tiles like this? So I say I have 4 and 6, so I make 10. I have 10 here, right? I mean, I've got 10 tiles. I got heads shaking, but nobody wants to take a risk and volunteer to talk. I can use cards. Liam?
Well, all the positive symbols, there's 4. And so you can get 4 negative symbols, and those will just cancel each other out.
Ah, so I can group up positive and negative pairs. What do we call it when we have opposite values that will combine to make 0? 2 words. AI. Additive inverses. Point to Patrick. See me after class. Just because everyone else just looked like they were asleep. And you got it. So see me after class. Give me a piece of candy. So we create the additive inverse pairs. What are we left with? 2 negatives. So when it asks us, what does this represent? It represents -2 if we simplify it. Now this goes on to ask us, if you are in your book or looking up on the top screen, what if 3 pluses are removed? Well, crap, that took away 3 of my additive inverse pairs. So if I take those out of the screen, what do I have now, Liam?
-5.
Now I only have 1 additive inverse set, and I have -5. Now, if we start over again, and it says, what if 3 negative tiles are removed from the original set? What happens then? Grant?
You have to take 3 of the negatives.
Okay, we pull these out of frame. Then what's the value of my set?
3 of them cancel out, so we have 1.
One.
We have 1 plus.
What's it? So it's not. It's Yes, it looks like a plus, but that represents a positive. So we have positive 1 left. So that one was easy. We were able to do everything it wanted us to do. Right, so let's go back to our book and check out 325. Whether or not you wrote those things in your math journal, I'm not worried about, or in your toolkit, I'm not worried about. We're just having some discussions with some of these. So it's often useful to represent operations and expressions in multiple ways. So now we're going to start writing things. Okay, so in each part labeled A through C below, one representation is given. Work with your team to create each of the other representations. So we want to make a diagram for each, a numerical expression for each, and a situation described in words, like what you could say, make up a story, essentially, be creative. So we've got a diagram shown here that starts with that and then does this. We've got a numerical expression here given to you, and we've got a verbal expression here given to you. So for A, create a numerical and a verbal. For B, create a diagram and a verbal. For C, create a diagram and a numerical. So dive into it. I'll give you like 4 minutes at least, probably. Keep your distance. I will get the video uploaded as soon as I can. Yeah, get away from me. I want you to think about something real quick. What do you actually start with in A? If we are going to create the numerical, Alex? This is 8, regardless of the fact that these guys are here, because they don't do anything. So the question is, how do we write what's happening here? It's going to be 8 and some change, and then you'll want to write the answer. What do we get? So, keep working. Don't want an answer right now. Just wanted to make sure that you were tuned in. It's not 10 and negative 2 to start. It's 8, right? We start with 8. Or if you want to really be specific, it's 8 plus 0. We've got 3 more minutes. So I've heard 2 different groups say 8 plus 2 plus negative 2. I agree that's what we start with, but we can represent that with just 8. What we're asking is here, what is this showing happen? When we take things away, what do we call that mathematically? Take away, subtraction, right? We all know this. So it's going to be 8, take away what? What are they taking away? Alex? They take away 2 negatives, which will then leave us with, when we did this on our papers, these were actually zeros, but now they're not zeros because the negatives are gone. What are you left with? 10. Our situation actually got bigger. So this could be like, I had $8, but how could we represent taking away a negative or removing a negative? Pardon? Debt, right? Debt is how we can talk about negative values or negative, like money. I have lots of negative money. My car, my house, it's a lot of negative money, but that's okay. So if I had $8 and somebody paid off a debt or removed a debt of $2, they removed a debt, paid me 2. I now have 10. So the verbal situations are a lot of times the hardest to think up, especially when we're removing negatives. Think of that as taking away debt. So try to model B. And you can do it on your desk if you want, but try to do it on your paper. Try to draw it like they did in A. Try to model B with a diagram. I don't want that. Start by drawing your negative 8 for your 8 negatives. Start by drawing those 8 negatives and show that change. So those of you that have requested I not shuffle cards, I haven't, so that I'll make it all the way through the deck. Penelope, what's B asking me to do with my negative 8?
It's asking you to subtract it.
So subtraction, we can go kind of elementary here and say it wants us to take away, right? That's how we learned about subtraction. Take away negative 3. So negative 3, take them away. What are you left with? 5. But they're 5 negatives. So it's negative 5. Brr, it's cold outside. That's not how it goes, but there's a cheer about temperature. The first time I looked at the thermometer today, it said it was 0 degrees Fahrenheit. We've been there. We've been there before. Then it dropped 5 degrees. Well, if you had 0, I want to see who could come up here and model this using my integer tiles on the camera. I'm curious if somebody's bold enough to model how we can start with nothing and take away 5. Al, you want to? Trey, you were just the first one I saw, and I feel like I've been calling on boys a bunch today. We'll drag this down under this one. So you guys talk about it as your team. Ella's got some time to set up, then she's going to lead us in it. So talk as a team on what you need to do to start with nothing and take away 5. How do we represent having nothing but actually show tiles? Yeah, do it in frames. So actually, here, I'll move this so we can't see anything. So I'll freeze that right there. And set it up looking at it, and then we'll unfreeze the other screen. You know how to set a 0, but actually use tiles to do it? You're waiting to verify with Penelope. Or, sorry, with Ella. Penelope's card was up. Actually, I've talked with both of you guys today. So how do we make that 0? You can't physically start with nothing. You start with representing nothing. You need to take it with 5. You need to use put as many so make sure that on the screen we want to show actually just because I'll think about it. So your team's doing. Give me a thumb scale. You guys know the thumb scale, right? This is terrible. This is amazing. Anywhere in between. How we doing? Yeah, maybes can be right here. I can be like, yeah, I kind of get it, but I don't. Some scales from top to bottom. It's not like a speedometer. Now, what are you going to do? Okay, let me show you. But you're adding things on this. You already have scores, so I don't need any more files. You need to take away 5. So you do that. All right. Give your attention to Miss Gibson, your guest teacher for today. She talk real loud.
So there are 5 positives and 5 negatives, so that is 0 because they equal each other out.
Now hold up. Look at your class, see if anyone's confused. Do we understand how she has 0 on the screen right now? Do we get that?
Yeah.
Okay. Continue.
And then you take away these because that's taking away 5, so it drops 5 degrees, and you're left with negative 5.
So the final temperature is -5. To take away something from nothing, we just have to make 0 pairs using, what's that AI? Additive inverses. Thank you very much, Ellen. All right, move on to 26. Check out that problem and talk about it with your team. Sorry, by the way, before I move on too quickly from that, your numerical that I think most of us have, we start at 0 and take away 5. We end up at -5. I think most of us had that more easily than even using the tiles to do it. You can do this as a group. Yeah, you can just build one representation and make sure everybody agrees with what you're doing. So for the first one, you start with 7 positives, or at least it representing 7.
Are we actually writing them down in our notebooks or like
You're following directions. Yes. No. And this is why. You can't add negative temperature. Like Jack Frost comes in and he's like, can't do that, but you take away heat. There's no such thing as cold. There's just lack of heat, right? Because heat is energy. So you added -5 instead of taking away positive. So you got the same answer. You ended up at the same place. You took a different route, but in this situation, that wouldn't work. But this does do the same thing. Like mathematically, you can do what you did. In our situation, it wouldn't make sense. Okay? So that's the weird thing about math compared to real life. Sometimes you can do it with math, you can't do it in real life, which is why I like math. You can solve those problems. You can't necessarily solve it in real world. So if I'm going to draw A for you complainers out there, I start with 7. Right? What do I do then? What's it ask me to do? 7. Take away 5. 5 positives, right? Well, I've got 5 positives I can take away. Just draw an arrow showing that you take them away, and we're left with 2. And that's it. That's all we got to do here. That's all we're being asked to represent. If you don't want to physically use the tiles, you don't have to, but there are situations where they will be pretty important. Like B, how do we start with nothing and take away something? So you do have to draw the model. You do not necessarily have to make it with the tiles themselves. Zoe, how am I going to start in B? How do I draw 0 there? Or how are you going to draw 0? What makes 0 that AI? 2 words. Additive inverses, right? So I could use 8 positive, 8 negative, 40 positives, 40 negatives, as many tiles as I want. equal positives, negatives. How many do I need here? 4, because that's how many I'm going to take away. So if I need to take away 4 positives, I got to make sure I have 4 positives in my situation. But if I have 4 positives in my situation, I have to also start with 4 negatives in that situation. That's a giant negative. No. Now, and this is where I've got tons of colored pencils and pens and highlighters and colors that make things easy to see. We take away 4 positives, and we're left with negative 4. If you need a visual representer, you can make like a mat. Not like a mat over there, but make like a box where you say, I start with negative 6. I then remove... Wait, what does C tell me to do? Kate, help me out. What does C tell me to do?
Like, start with negative 6.
Okay.
And you just take away 2.
And then I just take away 2. 2 of what? That doesn't say take away negative 2. That just says take away 2.
Oh, 6 take away 2, so negative 6 take away 2.
Right.
Start with negative 6. And then...
Crap, I can't take away 2 right now, can I? What do I need to do in order to be able to take away 2? I need to put some plus signs in there that I would be able to take away. So, all right, I'm just going to throw a couple plus signs in here. Sure, so I can take some away now, right? Liam's shaking his head.
You had 2 positive signs.
Oh, I already added 4. I'm leaving them.
Well, then you have to take away 4 negative signs and you're left.
You mean I need to put in 4 negative signs? These values right down here. Green, work, please. Thank you. Oh. Okay, well, I can change it down here. I just need it. This section right there equals what? 0. It's nothing. It's not affecting anything. But I need it because now to take away positive 2, we take them away. Now we know that these cancel, I never needed those. Those cancel, I never needed those. Because Liam had told me only put in 2 0 pairs. What am I left with in my diagram? Negative 8. I had my 6 negative that I started with, and I picked up 2 more negatives after I took out those positives. Please make sure you have this on your paper. I'm going to stand up here and awkwardly stare at you for a minute to make sure you have this drawn. Discuss D as a team. Make sure we all agree on how we do it. I'm going to randomly call on a team to share it with us. So what do we start with? What do we need to do? Take away what? Take away what? She said something different. You don't say. What do you mean? Well, what do we start with? Okay, what do we need to do? Take away 4 negatives. So do we have negatives to start? We can. They might have to be able to take away 4. Now this right now does not represent 3. So to keep it representing 3, what do we need to do? Every negative that we put in there, we got to put in another positive, right? So there's my 3. These are all zeros. Work it from there. Well, we need 2 more pluses. How are we doing? What are we doing? But what are you supposed to take away? You didn't take away negative. You took away positive. No, not to start. To start with 3. The value that you have is 3. So let's say this. Right, this is your. Wait, what? So we need to start with. Oh, I don't know. And then we're going to need to do what? What am I supposed to do? Subtract what? Subtract what? Subtract what? Subtract what? What's the worst one? Now, can I take away negatives right now? There's negatives here to take away? How can I put negatives in here to be able to Hey, if you're struggling to do this, go ahead and I'm going to break one of those teacher rules. It's okay. I break a lot of rules. If you are struggling to see this, go ahead and on your desk. I'm heavier than I used to be. Draw a square. Draw a box right here. Draw a box. We're going to do this together. Draw a box on your desk. I'm telling you to draw on your desk. Draw on your desk. Not asking, I'm telling. Do this. Put 3 pluses in there. Everybody draw a box on your desk, put 3 pluses in there. Like, not write them, but put 3 plus tiles. We can't write because we have to physically move and keep situations how they are. Right? So you have your box and you have your 3. Now my problem asks me, start with 3 and do what? Take away 4 negatives. Can I? Just throwing stuff in. I can't. Quote unquote can't. So what do I need to do to make it so that I can? Grant?
Add an extra positive and add an extra negative.
Sure. Love it. Sounds great. So I'm going to change colors. Grant told me put in green. I just forget. So Grant said add another plus and a minus. Now we know together a plus and a minus really equals 0. So that's 0. Sweet, awesome. Okay. I've not removed anything. I show that with red, right? Okay, Grant.
Well, add your 4 negatives into the box.
Okay. Like total 4?
No. We should have 5 negatives.
Okay.
Take 4 of your negatives so you can take out your 4 positives.
But wait, I can't just add, like now this is, now if I combine this, that's -1. That's no longer 3. My box has to start with 3. And I have to take away, right now you added actually. You added extra. You didn't take anything away. Did you ever? We really are adding into the box what? You can't change what you start with. Right? We start with 3. However, we can change what it looks like. If I add equal pluses as I do minuses, this whole section is full of zeros. Do we get that? We all said that we got it when Ella was up here solving, but that I'm walking around and I'm seeing some people really confused. Who's confused in this? Let's just be honest. Okay, where's your confusion line? Thank you for being honest. Is it when we're putting extra stuff in? So, my workspace, I'll do physical tiles because this might help. My workspace has to start with 3. So, if I am going to show starting with 3, I'm going to make my box. I'm going to draw on my desk. Now you guys can't really see this very well. So I had to make it a little bit bigger. I start with 3 in my workspace. I need to take away 4 negatives. Great. Can't. There's no negatives to take away. Every time I do this, I've gained a negative that I'm able to take away. However, this is still 3. Do we get why this is still 3 right now? Yes? So I do it again, and it's still 3. I do it again, and it's still 3. And I do it again, and it's still 3 inside my workspace. Does that make sense? How I still have 3. Everybody draw that on your paper right now. Draw a square with 7 pluses and 4 negatives, but try to make it look like this so that you have 3 and then zeros. Then we are going to, on the paper we'll model it, because we have our rectangle around this, and we can now model it. I need to remove my 4 negatives and pull them out of here. So if those are gone, what am I left with? 7 positives. This, back in the old days, is where we would say 3 minus negative 4, and this was always really dumb, right? Minus a negative, you cram them together, and it makes a plus. And you're just like, okay, sure, I'll memorize that. But it doesn't make any sense. This is how we make sense of it. If I start with all positives, and I'm trying to take away negatives, I can't do it. So I have to change the situation so I can. I throw in some 0 values so then I can take away the negative. Questions? All right. Moving on to our next one here. Let's look at F, actually. Then that'll be the last one we do. So F has -1, remove -9. So we're going to start in our workspace, clear it out, -1. Pretty easy. Now all I have to do is take away 9 negatives. As Annika chuckles. Why are you laughing, Annika? We can't do this. Your math teacher asking you to do impossible things, right? What do we do? Whose name is up next? Oh, she went home. Miss Browning. What do we do in order to be able to take away 9 negatives?
You do 9 positives and 9 negatives, and it cancels.
We only actually have to do 8. Because realize we already have 1 negative, right? I can take 1 negative away right now. Now I could take away 2 negatives, but my value is still -1. Do we get this? Now I could take away 2 negatives, but my value is still just -1. So I do this 8 times. I add in 8 zeros. then we will remove all 8 of our negatives out of our workspace, out of our box. And the last one that wasn't part of a 0, because we need to take away 9 negatives, right? So now I've taken away 9 negatives. What am I left with in my workspace? Positive 8. Now, as you are putting your tiles away, I need to show you one thing from Schoology, so please start cleaning up your desk areas. In Schoology, and I only have Mondays posted right now because I'm still trying to figure stuff out, you have the answers to the homework. You don't have to erase your desks. We'll use that with another class, and now I'll wipe desks down with Clorox wipes. Right here, check this out. I'll zoom in a tiny bit. I need to erase that, but so 4311. Yo, let me see your eyes up here. Click on the picture. There's answers 7 and 8. Answers 9, 10. Answers 10, 11.
Good morning. Please pardon the interruption.
Hold up.
We have an announcement.